At the City Council meeting on May 16, Councilman Graham asked the transportation staff about the latest traffic volume numbers they are using to make decisions about planning for transportation projects, including road diets. After some gaslighting, the staff finally admits that their quote data is old and is actually from 2019 and 2020.
Some of the most important data for transportation planning is the city's traffic volume trends. Every 2 years, city staff collects volume data for the city's major street network. The volume data collected over numerous years is what the city uses in recommending future restriping changes. McDowell Mountain Ranch Road was repaved earlier this year. We did not change the lane striping following the repaving because our analysis determined that there was minimal benefit to reducing lanes. 96th Street, Shea to Via Linda, is a strong candidate for restriping to 2 lanes. The volumes have been constant since 1998, as you can show on the graph on the bottom.
Clarity, what was the most recent year that we used?
The most recent year
Yes,
used?
the latest year.
I'd have to get that information for you.
Was it 2020 or 2021?
Well, as I said on the slide there, the section for COVID, where that data is not part of our analysis. We took the rate for the full year and did not include those months.
Why did we not use more recent data from 21 or 22?
So I think that's the data that we have. We do this every 2 years.
I liked what Councilmember Janik said. I think that she mentioned that you had to, when you do something like this, you have to look at a year in arrears. Is that correct? Is that what she was making? Is that a true statement?
I had to provide. I don't know. I'd have to provide you with this information.
When will that newer data be available?
I have Phil Kirchers here, our traffic engineer in charge.
Mayor, members of council, your question was about our traffic volume.
Correct.
And we produce the traffic volume and collision report every 2 years. So it takes us 2 years to collect traffic volumes on the many streets that we have in Scottsdale. And then we collect all of the collision data as well. And it takes some time to compile all that and rectify the collision data with the PD database. So we're actually in the process right now of producing the 2022 report.
Okay. So I have a client who's in gasoline distribution industry. And so it's directly related to the number of gallons that people are buying. And they said 2022 was a record year for miles driven in Phoenix. 2023 is shaping up to be even bigger than that. Would you agree with that?
I wouldn't in Scottsdale. When you look at the volume data, as Mark alluded to, we're not seeing trends of increased travel. So I mean that may change a year from now when we look at the data that's occurring now, the volumes. But as was mentioned and shown, just over this 20-year period from 98 to now, volumes were much higher in 98 because of the lack of the freeways, and they've dropped and then stayed pretty consistent. Now, I will say in the north area, on the major streets, the arterials, there's been some increase. There's always been this concern that we were going to overload the streets in the downtown area, and it just hasn't happened. When all the data that we look at, the volumes stay pretty consistent, the vehicle miles traveled stay pretty consistent, as Mark showed.
How would you respond to somebody who says that, that may be what, because data, I mean, you can torture data and get it to say whatever you want. What would you say to somebody who would say, with my own eyes, I'm waiting at more cycles at lights, there's more congestion?
I would just say, there's always, traffic is dynamic, and there are always, changes in volumes on streets and traffic patterns. So yeah, there may be at one location you might see more congestion, but the data that we collect hasn't shown that. So yes, traffic is dynamic, and as was also mentioned, I don't think we want to keep building out of that. I don't think we want to add lanes to Indian School. I don't think we want 4-lane Scottsdale Road each direction.
They are using old data to make decisions to remove car lanes from our streets. Anyone who drives in Scottsdale can see there is more congestion than ever before. When the city's traffic counts report is compiled and released later this year, we will finally find out if there are more cars on the roads than there were in 2020.